All right, so we have a Canon EF 70-200 2.8 L series USM. This is the Mark 1. Definitely onwards to 15 to 20 years old, and it's gotten quite a lot of great use. Well, it's been on many film sets, but it's been recently inherited, borrowed by myself to do a lot of photography, and it's done weddings, it's done sort of like documentary style shoots, and quite a few events. So I've noticed that the weather sealing has finally worn out quite a bit. If you can see here and there, there's like little bites off of the edges, and the bottom is pretty noticeable. So for me, it's probably, yeah, it's definitely time to be changed. It's no longer 100% weather sealed. So if you're screwing on, say, the lens cap or an actual camera body, water can get slipped in between the camera body and the lens. So it's time for a change. So I've picked up actually a replacement, a couple replacements, one for the 24-70, which I just changed, and this is a second one for the 70-200, and apparently it came as different SKUs, but it's actually the same product, same mount, EF mount, and I guess Canon makes all their weather seals practically the same. I haven't seen a difference, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter if it's like what's the diameter of the actual lens itself, because the mount is always going to be the same. So it just depends on how Canon decides to manufacture them, and so far these two seems to be using the same weather seal. So but the RF I think is a bit bigger because of the mount size. So we're gonna unscrew these 4 screws and see how easy it is to take off. Screws aren't very deep, just a few turns. All right, screws are out, and just give it a little wiggle. So the bottom plate comes off, and I'm not gonna pull on it because there's the ribbons, the cables and ribbons attached, and you can flip it to reveal the inside. But what I'm most interested in is, and that must be the ribbon and the this part that's making it yeah, that's making that sound. But I'm gonna just peel off just the top very slowly and carefully, not putting in any additional force that I don't need to. So it looks quite dirty. It's pretty dirty. Lots of gunk and dust have accumulated in between the seal and the outer barrel. So yeah, so if dust is getting in, that is one factor to consider. Is okay, so I'm peeling it off right here, just pulling, and it's pretty on there because I guess there's a lot of, it's been there for so long. It's basically melded onto the mounting plate. Nice. Okay. All right, it's off. But look at this. It's like bites, a huge bite into it right there. It's definitely not waterproof. Even like towards the edge right here, where it's the metal, where the metal wraps around. I mean, it definitely is not sealing in water. So here we go, a new one. Let's pop this in. Okay, so I'm gonna tuck it underneath. I'm just very gently pulling on the lifting, not pulling, just lifting the mounting plate, and it's not totally okay. It's pretty good. So it looks even to me, pretty even here. So if I just kind of slightly tap, okay, so you gotta make sure the holes are aligned. And there's like basically two parts to that. It's not, there's like a hole on the mounting plate, and then there's another hole here that's like part of this like white ring that needs to be aligned with the plate, and then there's another hole that is part of like the main body, I suppose, of the lens body barrel that it screws into. So there should be 3 pieces that need to be aligned, or 3 holes. But yeah, so if you look all around, it seems to be pretty good. It looks even to me, at least from here, as I'm rotating it. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna start putting the screws. Okay, there we go. Just found the 3rd hole where it screws into. Normally you screw in, put in the screws across from each other first, and then you complete the other 2. And you don't need to put it in very tight yet. You can do a final screw down. We have all 4 in. Okay, so that was good. So I'm gonna go and do slightly tighter. Make it screws slightly tighter. Now I'm just feeling it. Put a little pressure, but not too much. Okay, check one more time. Okay, it's pretty good. Not too tight. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm gonna just blow off any excess dust here. And then, you know, when you're screwing in the mount and unscrewing the screws, sometimes there could be like metal flakes from the the screwing actions. I'm gonna just blow this very lightly. Dust tends to get in through the elements when you blow too hard into the corners of the lens. So I'm trying to blow towards the center. Whenever you can, just blow towards the center, not towards the edges. So if the dust hits the center, it'll make its way out more likely. There we go. There's a nice piece of dust out. Okay, blow the top. This one could be a little scratch on the lens filter, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Okay, moment of truth. We want to know if this is gonna work, so I'm gonna test it on my R7. Okay, R7 is kind of rigged out for street photography and POV, BTS, behind the scenes. All right, so I've got the Viltrox speed booster from the EF to RF mount. Okay, let's turn it on. All right, that's a good sign. Turn it on. I'm getting focus, autofocus. You can see it here. Okay, no errors. Wonderful. All right, this is a success to me. And yeah, it is much better if you look at it here. The weather sealing. Even though the Viltrox is known not to be a weather sealed speed booster, but when it does, if this is mounted on a Canon EF to RF adapter, like one of these right here, you'll notice that it has a way better seal. So actually, I'll demonstrate it. Okay, so I'm gonna just put this on here. Okay, so it's on there. See how here, because the adapter is a little bit wider than the lens mount, where the lens mount is on the lens side. Mounting plate. So then the rubber gasket will actually make contact with like this outer ring part. Yeah, so it'll actually make like a proper seal, whereas the Viltrox is not as not as wide, so I don't know why they made it like that, but it could be a design flaw. Not quite sure, but let me show you how this works. Okay, see here? There's a bit of a gap. At least it's like, it doesn't, the rubber doesn't really engage with the Viltrox speed booster. So I feel like the water can just go straight in between the crack, the gap. So that's why the Viltrox speed booster is not known to be weather sealed. And here, there's no weather sealing along the edges. And yeah, I mean, it looks like you could probably just like screw in, you know, a gasket, just add it in yourself, but there's no gap for it. And if you try to put it in, it's just not gonna screw in tight. So it's just not, it's just not the way it was designed. But let's see, I thought that, okay, here. Yeah, so the back side, in contrast, you see that where the RF mount side of the EF to RF adapter has a rubber gasket to seal in to weather seal it as well. So it receives a weather sealed lens, and it itself is weather sealed. So when you attach it to the camera, it won't let water slip in. So, but I actually used this Viltrox speed booster in Taiwan during the typhoon, and it was pouring rain, dumping buckets and buckets of water, raining elephants, lions, and tigers, not cats and dogs. And I didn't have any issue with my camera like turning off, breaking. To my knowledge, I mean, everything was drenched, but water didn't get through, at least into the critical components of my lens. So I'm very fortunate, but it just gives you an idea, like I guess it may be more longer use under extreme weathers could be a problem, but my lens survived, and it was getting wet quite a bit as I was shooting outside. So I definitely recommend other ways to waterproof it. Maybe a bag, or using like those gallon-sized Ziploc bags, the freezer bags, and then cutting a hole. And there's you can watch YouTube videos on that. But this is it's been working, so I'm excited that Weather Seal is on here. Got that going, so it's not going to help too much with this adapter here, but maybe a little bit. It might reflect a tiny bit of water. And this is my primary adapter. I use this because it converts my EF full frame lenses into essentially a full frame version on full frame lens on my R7, which is a crop sensor camera. So I like the look of it. It gives you that full frame look, and it gives you more light than just if you're to shoot with, a full frame camera with this, full frame lens. So that's a nice benefit, but let's see. Now I did compare it with just a regular adapter. I have this and a with the focus ring, but let me see where the other one is. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is without the focus ring, but it's the exact same design otherwise. It also has weather sealing, and it's literally the same width. It's just one has the ring and one doesn't. Thing is, so when I shoot with this, the 70-200 and any EF lens that's meant to be, for full frame cameras, it has that crop factor of 0.6 or 1.6. So the image is cropped in, and the light is the same as if you were shooting on a full frame. So for me, that wasn't as beneficial. I feel like having that extra, the extra light, and to be able to have a larger aperture is much better. So larger aperture, less of a crop, and more light is totally worth it to me. At the expense of a little bit of a image quality loss and maybe sharpness loss, and then the finicky of it being out of focus at times. At least it's happened to me during a shoot where my infinity was not infinity focused. It was instead missing focus. It was quite blurry for infinity. So lots of pros and cons, but the pros outweigh the cons for sure.